An 8-year-old poor girl begged for leftovers to feed her 3-year-old brother until a millionaire noticed her necklace and couldn't believe it. That necklace hid a devastating secret. Before we start, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Like and subscribe for more emotional stories. The rain fell in sheets over Boston's Harbor District as Emma clutched her little brother's hand tighter. 7 years old and already carrying the weight of responsibility no child should bear. 3-year-old Liam shivered beside her, his hollow cheeks and wide eyes making him look like a Renaissance painting of suffering. "Stay here, Liam," Emma whispered, positioning him under the awning of Giovanni's restaurant. "Don't move, okay? I'll be right back." She approached the back door where kitchen staff occasionally emerged with garbage bags. The smell of garlic and roasting meat made her dizzy with hunger. When the door swung open, Emma stepped forward. "Excuse me," her small voice barely carried over the rain. "Do you have any leftover bread or anything, please? My brother hasn't eaten since yesterday morning." The busboy, barely a teenager himself, glanced nervously over his shoulder. "Kid, I could get fired." "Please," Emma's voice cracked. Her hand instinctively went to the silver locket around her neck, her mother's most precious possession that she'd insisted Emma wear always. Just a little bit. Something in her desperation moved him. "Wait here," he muttered, disappearing inside. That's when the black Tesla pulled into the alley, its headlights illuminating Emma like a ghost in the rain. The car stopped, and a man stepped out, hastily opening an umbrella. "You shouldn't be out here," he called, approaching. "Where are your parents?" Emma backed away. "My mom's sick. I'm just waiting for—" The man came closer, and the restaurant's security light caught his face. Handsome, perhaps 35, with a carefully trimmed beard and kind eyes that suddenly widened in shock. "That necklace," he whispered, umbrella tilting as his arm went slack. "Where did you get that necklace?" Emma's hand flew protectively to the silver locket. "It's my mom's." "Your mother?" he repeated, his voice hollow. "What's your mother's name?" "Sarah," Emma answered hesitantly. "Sarah Collins." The man staggered as if physically struck. "Sarah? Sarah's your mother?" Before Emma could answer, Liam ran from his hiding spot, rain soaking his thin t-shirt as he clutched his sister's leg. The man stared at the boy, then back at Emma, his face draining of color. How old are you?" "7, Emma said, pulling Liam closer. "He's 3. Michael Edwards, founder of EdgeTech Solutions and worth $340 million as of that morning's stock prices, felt the world tilt beneath his feet. 3 years since Sarah had vanished without explanation. 3 years of searching, hiring private investigators, of grief and confusion. "Does your mother speak?" he asked, his voice strange. "No," Emma replied. "She can't. She writes things down for us." The busboy returned with a paper bag. "Here, kid, some bread and—" He stopped short, seeing Michael. "I need to see your mother," Michael said, his eyes never leaving the children. "Right now." Emma hesitated, years of being warned about strangers warring with desperate hunger and the promise of help. "We live far." "I'll drive you," Michael said, gesturing to his car. "Please." "Why do you care about my mom?" Emma demanded with surprising fierceness. Michael knelt on the wet pavement, rain now soaking his $3,000 suit. "Because I loved her, and she disappeared from my life 3 years ago without a word," his eyes fixed on Liam. 3 years ago. Emma's grip tightened on the locket, the same locket Michael had given Sarah on her birthday. "If you really know my mom," Emma said slowly, "what's inside this locket?" Michael's voice caught. "A tiny origami swan. I folded it from the receipt from our first dinner together." Emma's eyes widened. This stranger wasn't lying. "Please," Michael whispered, "take me to her." The Tesla glided through Boston's rain-slicked streets, wipers beating a steady rhythm against the downpour. In the back seat, Emma sat with Liam's head in her lap, the boy having fallen asleep almost instantly in the warm car. Michael kept glancing at them in the rear-view mirror, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "Turn left here," Emma directed, pointing toward Dorchester, one of the city's struggling neighborhoods. A far cry from the Beacon Hill address, where Sarah had lived when Michael knew her. "Emma," Michael said carefully, "what happened to your mother? Why can't she speak?" Emma's fingers absently stroked her brother's hair. "She got hurt before Liam was born. That's what she told me. Wrote to me. She can't talk anymore." "And your father?" "Don't have one," Emma said matter-of-factly. "It's just us." Michael's mind raced. The timeline aligned perfectly. Sarah had disappeared without explanation 3 years and 9 months ago. After 6 months of searching, he'd finally accepted she was gone. Now here were her children, 1 7, 1 3. The math was undeniable. They pulled up to a dilapidated 3-story building, paint peeled from the facade like skin after a sunburn. "We're on the top floor," Emma said, gently shaking Liam awake. Michael carried the sleeping boy up 3 flights of stairs that reeked of mildew and desperation. At the end of a dim hallway, Emma stopped at apartment 3C and knocked in a specific pattern, 3 quick taps, 2 slow. The door opened a crack, chains still in place. A woman's eye appeared in the gap, widening in shock when it registered Michael. The door slammed shut. "Mom!" Emma called. "He knows about the locket. He said he loved you." 30 seconds of silence followed. Then the sound of the chain sliding free. The door opened to reveal Sarah Collins. Michael's breath caught. She was thinner, her once vibrant face now gaunt, her chestnut hair dull and cut short. But her eyes, those deep brown eyes that had captivated him from their first meeting, remained unchanged. She wore a threadbare cardigan pulled tight around her frame. Her hands trembled as she stared at Michael. "Sarah," he whispered. She stepped back, gesturing them inside. The apartment was small but meticulously clean. A fold-out couch with neatly stacked blankets, a table with 2 mismatched chairs, a kitchenette with empty cupboards, doors ajar. The only decoration was a child's drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. Sarah moved to a drawer, pulled out a worn notebook and pen. Her handwriting, once elegant, was now shaky as she wrote, "Why are you here?" "I found your children begging for food," Michael said, his voice breaking. "Emma was wearing the locket." Sarah closed her eyes, pain washing over her face. "Why did you leave?" Michael asked, the question that had haunted him for 3 years, finally finding its target. "Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant?" Sarah's hand moved across the paper. They were watching, had to protect them. "And you?" "Who? Who was watching?" Sarah shook her head vehemently, writing, "Not safe." "Mom?" Emma's small voice interjected, Is he my dad?" Sarah looked at her daughter with tears streaming down her face. She nodded once. Michael felt the room spin. A daughter. He had a daughter and a son. "That's why you recognized me," Emma whispered. "I have your eyes." Michael looked closely at Emma's face, really seeing her for the first time. The same blue-grey eyes that looked back at him from every mirror. How had he missed it? "Sarah," Michael said firmly, "whatever you're afraid of, I can help. I have resources, security, but you have to tell me what happened." Sarah's hand trembled as she wrote, "Witness, murder, Victor Krantz." Michael's blood ran cold. Victor Krantz, notorious Boston organized crime figure. The man EdgeTech had developed security software for 3 years ago. The contract Michael had personally overseen. "The night you disappeared," Michael said slowly, "that was the night of the charity gala at the Krantz Foundation." Sarah nodded, writing quickly. "Saw him kill someone. Bathroom hallway. He saw me. Had to run." The name Victor Krantz hung in the air like poison gas. Sarah's eyes darted nervously to the windows, checking that the blinds were completely closed. "Sarah," Michael whispered, Krantz is in federal custody, has been for almost 2 years. Her pen froze mid-stroke. She stared at him in disbelief. They finally built a RICO case against him, Michael continued. It was all over the news. His whole organization was dismantled. Sarah's shoulders sagged as if a massive weight had suddenly lifted. She slumped into a chair, hands covering her face. Liam, now awake and sensing the tension, climbed into his mother's lap. She clutched him tightly, rocking slightly. "You've been hiding all this time," Michael said, the realization dawning with horror. "Living in poverty, afraid for your lives." Sarah nodded, then wrote, "His people were everywhere. Police, government, couldn't trust anyone. And you couldn't tell me because they watched you too after I left. Men in cars outside your house. Followed you to work. If I contacted you, they would know." Michael remembered those strange months after Sarah's disappearance, the feeling of being observed, cars that seemed to appear too often. He'd attributed it to paranoia, born from grief. Emma stood between them, her small face solemn beyond her years. "Are we safe now?" Michael knelt to her level. "Yes, and I promise you'll never have to beg for food again." Sarah wrote frantically, "Need to be sure. Could still be people loyal to him." "I understand," Michael said, "but I can protect you now, all of you." He looked at Emma and Liam with a surge of fierce protectiveness that surprised him with its intensity. "You will be careful, but you don't have to hide anymore." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she wrote, "I never stopped loving you." Michael gently took the notebook from her hands. "I looked for you for so long, hired private investigators, filed missing persons reports. Eventually I convinced myself you'd simply chosen to leave." He glanced at Emma. "I never imagined." Sarah touched his face, a gesture so familiar it made his heart ache. Then she wrote, "I'm sorry about your father. Read about his passing." Michael nodded. "Cancer, last year." He hadn't considered that Sarah might have been keeping tabs on him too from a distance. The thought that she still cared during those years of separation was both comforting and painful. "We should go," Michael said, looking around the barren apartment. "Pack whatever's important. You can stay at my place tonight. It has security. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps." Sarah hesitated, then wrote, "The children need stability." "We've moved so many times." "I know," Michael said, "but one more move, to safety, to a better life. I've missed 3 years of their lives. I don't want to miss another day." As Sarah and Emma gathered their meager belongings, Michael watched Liam playing with a tattered stuffed rabbit, his son. The word felt foreign and miraculous. Liam looked up, offering the rabbit to Michael with solemn dignity. "His name is Hoppy." Michael accepted the rabbit with equal seriousness. "Thank you for introducing us, Liam. It's very nice to meet Hoppy." Liam smiled, a flash of sunlight in the dim apartment, revealing a gap where his front tooth was missing. Michael's heart constricted. Emma returned with a small backpack. "This is everything. Everything. Their entire lives packed into one child's backpack." As they prepared to leave, Sarah grabbed Michael's arm, her eyes intense as she wrote, "They can never know who Emma and Liam really are. Not yet. Need to be careful." Michael nodded. "We'll create a cover story. Take things slowly, I promise." Outside, the rain had stopped. Stars peeked through breaks in the clouds as they walked to Michael's car. Emma held her mother's hand on one side and Michael's on the other. For a moment, they looked like any normal family returning from an evening out. No one noticed the sedan parked across the street, or the man inside who lowered his camera after capturing several clear images of the 4 of them together. Dawn broke over Boston Harbor as Michael stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, watching the first fishing boats heading out to sea. Behind him, Sarah and the children slept in the guest rooms, safe for the first time in years. His phone buzzed with a text from his head of security, former FBI agent Diane Reynolds. Background checks complete. Sarah Collins has no official record since disappearing 3 years, 9 months ago. No credit activity, no employment, no medical records. It's like she became a ghost, Michael typed back, and Krantz, still in maximum security. Trial for additional charges starts next month. But his nephew Marcus took over what's left of the family business. He's been keeping a low profile, supposedly legitimate now. Michael frowned. Marcus Krantz had always been the smarter, more controlled version of his uncle. If anyone could rebuild the Krantz empire from the ashes, it would be Marcus. A small sound made him turn. Emma stood in the hallway, hair tousled from sleep, eyes wide as she took in the luxury around her. "Is this all yours?" she asked. Michael nodded. "Would you like some breakfast?" In the kitchen, Emma perched on a bar stool while Michael prepared pancakes, stealing glances at his daughter. She had Sarah's delicate features, but his coloring and stubborn chin. "Did you really not know about us?" Emma asked suddenly. Michael flipped a pancake before answering. "No. If I had, I would have moved heaven and earth to find you." "Mom used to cry at night," Emma said matter-of-factly. "When she thought I was asleep, she had a picture of you she kept in a book." Michael's throat tightened. "Emma, I need to ask you something important. Did anyone ever approach you or your mother? Anyone suspicious?" Emma considered this. "We moved a lot. Mom was always watching for something. Sometimes she'd pack our stuff in the middle of the night, and we'd leave before morning." She paused. "There was a man once, at my school in Philadelphia. He asked me questions about my mom." "What kind of questions?" "If she talked, where we lived, stuff like that." Emma shrugged. "I didn't tell him anything. Mom taught me not to talk to strangers." Michael made a mental note to have Diane check for any Krantz connections in Philadelphia. Sarah appeared in the doorway, Liam balanced on her hip. She looked younger in the morning light, some of the tension gone from her face. She set Liam down and reached for the notepad Michael had left on the counter. "He looks just like you when he sleeps." Michael smiled, passing plates of pancakes to the children. "We need to talk about next steps. Security arrangements." Sarah nodded, writing, "Marcus Krantz, more dangerous than Victor, smarter, patient. You know about Marcus?" She nodded grimly. "I've been thinking," Michael said, lowering his voice, "we should leave Boston. I have a house in Vermont, remote, secure. We could go there while we figure things out." Sarah's face clouded. She wrote, "Running again. The children need stability." "Just temporarily," Michael assured her, "until we know it's safe." "I can work remotely. We could enroll Emma in the local school." Emma looked up from her pancakes. "I haven't been to school in months." Michael and Sarah exchanged pained glances. "Vermont has excellent schools," Michael said, "and woods to play in. Maybe even get a dog." Liam's eyes widened. "A dog, really?" It was the most animated Michael had seen him. "Really? Any kind you want?" Sarah wrote, "How soon?" "I need a day to make arrangements. We'll leave tomorrow morning." After breakfast, while the children explored the penthouse under Sarah's watchful eye, Michael made calls to his executive team, announcing an indefinite leave of absence. To his lawyer, to begin paperwork that would legally establish his paternity. To a private security firm specializing in witness protection. By afternoon, the plan was set. They would drive to Vermont the next day, with a security detail following discreetly. Michael's estate manager was already preparing the house, stocking it with everything they might need. When he finished, he found Sarah sitting alone on the balcony, watching the children who were napping inside. She'd found his iPad and typed a longer message than her handwritten notes allowed. "I never told them about you because it was too dangerous, but also because it hurt too much. I thought I'd never see you again. Thought you'd have moved on, married someone else by now." Michael sat beside her. "There were relationships, nothing serious. I think part of me was still waiting for an explanation." He hesitated. "What happened to your voice?" Sarah took the iPad back. "Attack. 2 months after I left. They found me in Chicago. Strangled me. Left me for dead. Damaged my vocal cords permanently. That's when I knew they would never stop looking." Michael fought back rage at the thought of Sarah, pregnant and alone, fighting for her life. "Did you see who attacked you?" She shook her head, typing, "Masked, professional. I was lucky. Neighbor heard struggle and called police. After hospital, I changed identity again, moved to Detroit." "And that's where Liam was born?" She nodded. Michael reached for her hand. "I wish I had been there." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she typed, "I wish that every day." The Vermont estate sprawled across 30 acres of forested land, a modern structure of glass and stone that blended harmoniously with the natural surroundings. As Michael's Range Rover crunched up the gravel driveway, Emma and Liam pressed their faces against the windows, eyes wide at the sight of deer grazing near the tree line. "You live here?" Emma asked incredulously. "Not often enough," Michael admitted. "But now we all will, at least for a while." The first week passed in a blur of adjustments. Sarah and the children explored the house with its indoor pool, home theater and game room, luxuries beyond their wildest imagination after years of subsistence living. Michael worked remotely, keeping his company running while spending every possible moment with his newfound family. He watched Emma teach herself to swim in the pool, Liam build elaborate structures with the building blocks Michael had ordered, and Sarah slowly relax her vigilance enough to sleep through the night. By the second week, they'd established a routine. Mornings were for homeschooling Emma until they could arrange proper school enrollment. Afternoons were family time, hikes in the woods, board games, or baking in the massive kitchen. It was during one such afternoon, while teaching Emma to make chocolate chip cookies, that Michael found himself staring at his daughter with a sense of wonder. "What?" Emma asked, noticing his gaze. "I'm just amazed by you," Michael said honestly. "You're so resilient. Most kids who went through what you did would be different." Emma considered this as she carefully measured flour. "Mom always said we had to be brave, that one day things would be better." She looked up at him. She was right. From the living room came the sound of Liam's laughter as he played with the golden retriever puppy they'd adopted, Buddy, chosen by Liam himself from the local shelter. Sarah entered the kitchen, her face more relaxed than Michael had seen it in weeks. She'd gained some weight, the hollows in her cheeks filling out, her eyes brighter. She picked up her tablet, a more efficient communication method than handwritten notes. "Emma, go help your brother. He's trying to teach Buddy to fetch." When Emma left, Sarah showed Michael what she'd typed. "We need to talk about what happens next. Can't hide forever." Michael nodded. "I've been thinking about that. My legal team has prepared documents to establish my paternity. Once that's done, we can make decisions about more permanent arrangements." Sarah's fingers hovered over the screen before typing, "What arrangements?" "That depends," Michael said carefully, "on what you want, what we want." They hadn't discussed their relationship. They'd been focused entirely on safety and the children's well-being, but the unspoken question hung between them. After everything, could they find their way back to what they'd once had? Sarah typed slowly, "I'm not the same person you knew." "Neither am I," Michael replied, "but the way I feel about you hasn't changed." Her eyes filled with tears as she typed, "I've done things I'm not proud of, to survive, to keep them safe. We all have pasts, Sarah. I care about our future." A security alert chimed on Michael's phone before she could respond. The front gate sensor had been triggered. He checked the camera feed to see a delivery truck waiting. "I'm not expecting anything," Michael said, instantly alert. Sarah's face drained of color. She grabbed her tablet. "Get the children! Panic room! Now!" Michael didn't question her instincts. They'd prepared for this, had drills with the children. Within 60 seconds, all four of them were sealed inside the fortified room, hidden behind Michael's office bookcase. On the security monitors, they watched as two men in delivery uniforms approached the front door. One carried a package, the other had a hand inside his jacket. "Diane," Michael spoke into the security system's communication link to his head of security, who was stationed in the guest house. "Front door, two men, armed." "On it," came the immediate response. They watched as Diane and her partner intercepted the men before they reached the porch. A tense conversation, the men retreating to their truck. Diane examining the package with a portable scanner, then bringing it inside. "Clear," her voice came through the speaker 20 minutes later. "Package contains flowers. Card says, 'Welcome to the neighborhood.' No sender information." Sarah's hands shook as she typed, "They found us." "We don't know that," Michael tried to reassure her, but his own instincts were screaming warnings. That night, after the children were asleep, Michael found Sarah sitting in the dark living room, staring out at the moonlit forest. "We should leave," she typed when he sat beside her, "somewhere they won't expect. Start over." "Running didn't work before," Michael said gently. "Maybe it's time to fight back." Sarah looked at him questioningly. "Marcus Krantz thinks he's untouchable," Michael continued. "But I have resources his uncle never anticipated. Connections in federal law enforcement. Evidence of my own about the Krantz organization from when EdgeTech worked with them." Sarah typed urgently, "Too dangerous. More dangerous than spending your lives looking over your shoulders, than Emma and Liam growing up in fear." Michael took her hands. "Trust me, Sarah, please." She stared at him for a long moment before slowly nodding. "Tomorrow," Michael said. "I'll make some calls, set things in motion." What Michael didn't tell Sarah was that he'd already begun. The flowers weren't the first warning. There had been others. A suspicious pattern of network probes against EdgeTech's servers. A black sedan parked near the estate's outer perimeter 2 days earlier. Marcus Krantz was making his move, but Michael had made his first. As Sarah leaned against him, finding comfort in his embrace for the first time in nearly 4 years, Michael's phone vibrated with a text from a number identified only as J. "Package received. Operation underway. 72 hours to completion." 72. Rain lashed against the windows of the Vermont estate as thunder rolled across the valley. Inside, the atmosphere was equally charged. 3 days had passed since the flower delivery, 3 days of increasing security measures and hushed conversations away from the children's ears. In Michael's office, Sarah paced while he finished a call with J. Jonathan Chen, Assistant Director of the FBI's Organized Crime Division and Michael's roommate from MIT. "It's happening tonight," Michael said as he hung up. "They're moving on Marcus Krantz and his entire operation. Simultaneous raids in Boston, New York, and Miami." Sarah's fingers flew across her tablet. "What about here? The children? Our security team has been doubled. The property is locked down. No one gets within a mile without us knowing." Sarah didn't look reassured. She typed, "If something goes wrong, if Marcus escapes the raids." "He won't," Michael said with more confidence than he felt. "Jonathan has been building this case for months. My information was just the final piece they needed." What Michael had provided was a digital trail connecting Marcus Krantz to his uncle's criminal enterprises, evidence that EdgeTech's security systems had secretly archived during their contract work years ago. Insurance, Michael had called it then. Salvation, it had become now. Sarah set down her tablet and approached Michael, wrapping her arms around him in a rare initiation of physical contact. She'd been cautious about touch, even after weeks together, as if afraid to fully believe in their reunion. Michael held her tightly, breathing in the scent of her hair. "After tonight, it's over, really over. We can start thinking about the future." A knock at the door interrupted them. Diane entered, her expression grim. "Sir, we have a situation. The road to town is flooded. The storm knocked down power lines across the eastern perimeter." "Generator?" Michael asked. "Already running. But our communications are compromised. Cell service is spotty, and the satellite link is down." Sarah's face went pale. "Maintain the perimeter," Michael ordered. "No one comes in or out until we restore communications and confirm the FBI operation's success." After Diane left, Sarah typed frantically, "This isn't coincidence. The storm, the timing." "The weather service predicted this storm days ago," Michael reminded her. "Perfect cover. Cut us off, then attack." Michael wanted to dismiss her fears, but Sarah's instincts had kept her and the children alive for years. "What do you suggest?" "Move everyone to panic room now. Wait there until confirmation from FBI." Before Michael could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway, Liam half asleep against her shoulder. At 7, she was small for her age, yet she carried her brother with determined strength. "Buddy's acting weird," she said. "He keeps growling at the windows." Michael and Sarah exchanged glances. Michael went to the security panel, checking exterior cameras. Rain obscured the views, but nothing seemed amiss. "Probably just the storm," Michael said. "But he activated the estate's perimeter alarm system anyway. Why don't we all watch a movie in the theater room? It's soundproofed. You won't even hear the thunder." What he didn't say, the theater room was directly above the panic room, allowing for quick access if needed. As they settled the children with Finding Nemo and popcorn, Michael's phone vibrated. A text from Jonathan. "Operation delayed. Storm affecting Boston too. 24-hour postponement. Stay secure." Michael showed Sarah the message. Her face hardened as she typed, "We're vulnerable tonight." "We have 12 armed security personnel on property," Michael reminded her. "Krantz will have more." Michael couldn't argue. Marcus Krantz commanded an organization that, while smaller than his uncle's had been, was more disciplined, more strategic. An hour into the movie, with Liam asleep and Emma drowsy against Sarah's side, the lights flickered. The backup generator should have prevented any noticeable power interruption. Michael slipped out to check with security. In the hallway, he found Diane. "Generator's been tampered with," she reported quietly. "We're on battery backups now, 30 minutes max. Position. Motion sensors triggered at north and west boundaries. Team is responding, but visibility is near 0 in this rain. Get everyone inside the main house. Defensive positions." As Diane moved to comply, a deafening crack split the air, not thunder but an explosion at the front gate. The attack had begun. Michael rushed back to the theater room. "We need to move, now." Sarah was already gathering Liam, who remained asleep, while Emma stood alert, sensing the tension. "Where's Buddy?" Emma asked as they hurried toward the panic room. The dog had been with them in the theater, but now was nowhere to be seen. "He probably hid when he heard the noise," Michael said, ushering them forward. "He'll be okay." As they reached his office, a cacophony of gunfire erupted outside. Sarah clutched Liam tighter while Emma pressed against her side. Michael activated the bookcase mechanism, revealing the panic room entrance. Inside. Quickly. As Sarah and the children entered, Michael heard Diane's voice over his earpiece. "Perimeter breached. Multiple hostiles. Requesting immediate..." Her transmission cut off with a burst of static. Michael had seconds to decide. Stay with his family in the panic room or help his security team fight off the attackers. From inside, they could call for help, but with communications compromised, it might not come in time. Sarah stood in the panic room doorway, her eyes wide with fear and something else. Understanding. She knew what he was considering. "I'll be right back," Michael promised, pressing the tablet into her hands. "Lock it behind me. Don't open for anyone but me. The password is Emma's birthday." Before she could protest, he leaned in, kissing her with all the love and regret of 4 lost years. Then he turned and ran toward the sound of gunfire, the panic room door sealing shut behind him. Outside, through rain and darkness, shadowy figures moved across the grounds. Michael grabbed a gun from the fallen security guard in the hallway and prepared to defend the only thing that mattered, the family he'd just found and might now lose again. Michael moved silently through the darkened house, the security guard's weapon heavy in his hand. Rain hammered against the windows, masking his footsteps but also obscuring potential threats. From his earpiece came only static. Communications were completely down. At the east wing window, he glimpsed the situation outside. 3 of his security team were pinned down behind vehicles, exchanging fire with shadowy figures using the tree line for cover. A tactical assault, professionally executed. A crash from the kitchen pulled his attention. Someone had breached the house. Michael ducked into an alcove as 2 men in black tactical gear moved through the hallway, weapons raised. They communicated with hand signals, moving with military precision toward the center of the house, toward his office, where the panic room entrance was hidden. They knew exactly what they were looking for. Michael waited until they passed, then raised his weapon. "Federal agent!" he called out, using the only diversion he could think of. "The house is surrounded!" The men spun, and Michael fired twice. One attacker fell. The other returned fire, forcing Michael to retreat around the corner as bullets splintered the wall beside him. Heart-pounding, Michael circled through the dining room to flank the remaining intruder, but the man was gone, moving deeper into the house. Outside, the gunfire intensified. Through the rain-streaked windows, Michael saw more figures converging on the house. They were outnumbered, outgunned. A familiar bark echoed from upstairs. Buddy. The dog had sensed the danger before their security systems detected it. Michael took the stairs 2 at a time, following the sound to Liam's bedroom. There, cornered between the bed and the wall, stood Buddy, hackles raised, growling at a man who aimed a gun at the dog. "Looking for the kids?" Michael said coldly. The man turned, but not fast enough. Michael fired, and the intruder crumpled to the floor. Buddy raced to Michael, whimpering. "Good boy," Michael whispered. "Let's go find the others." Descending the back stairs, Michael encountered Diane, bleeding from a shoulder wound but still operational. "Status?" he demanded. 6 hostiles down, unknown number remaining, she reported grimly. "They've cut off the access road completely, no reinforcements coming." "The FBI operation against Krantz was delayed," Michael told her. "He must have learned I provided evidence." "Sir, you should get to the panic room," Diane said. "My team will handle this." "Your team is being overrun," Michael countered. "We need a different strategy." He thought quickly. "The boat! We have the speedboat docked on the lake." Diane nodded in understanding. "Extraction via water, but we need to clear a path to the dock." "Create a diversion at the front," Michael instructed. "Make it look like we're trying to escape by vehicle. I'll get my family to the boat." As Diane moved to execute the plan, Michael returned to his office. The bookcase concealing the panic room looked undisturbed. He entered Emma's birth date on the hidden panel, 03-17-18. The door slid open to reveal Sarah holding a security baton, ready to strike. Relief flooded her face when she saw Michael. Emma and Liam huddled behind her, the boy clutching his stuffed rabbit. "We have to move," Michael said urgently. "The house is compromised." Outside, an explosion rocked the front of the house, Diane's diversion. The security team was detonating the fuel tanks of the vehicles to create confusion. Michael led his family through the house's rear corridors, designed with multiple escape routes in mind. Buddy trotted alongside Liam, the dog's presence seemingly comforting the boy. They reached the mudroom adjacent to the path leading down to the private dock. Michael peered out through the rain-lashed windows. The path appeared clear, the attackers presumably drawn to the explosions at the front. "It's 200 yards to the dock," Michael explained. "Stay low, stay together." Sarah clutched Liam to her chest while Emma pressed close to Michael's side. Her small hand found his, squeezing with surprising strength. "Ready?" Michael asked. Sarah nodded, determination hardening her features. They burst into the rain, instantly soaked as they raced down the slippery path. Michael kept his weapon ready, scanning for threats, but the storm provided perfect cover. The path dipped into a wooded area, concealing them further. Just as the dock came into view, headlights swept the area. A vehicle was approaching along the shoreline service road. "Hide!" Michael hissed, pulling them into the underbrush. A black SUV stopped near the dock and two men emerged, checking the boat. They'd anticipated this escape route. Sarah tugged his sleeve, pointing urgently across the lake. Through the rain, Michael could just make out lights on the opposite shore, a neighboring property. "Too far to swim," Michael whispered, "especially with the children." Emma spoke up, her voice barely audible over the rain. "The rowboat, Dad. Remember, in the boathouse." Michael had forgotten the small aluminum rowboat kept in the tiny boathouse 50 yards down the shore, a distance they might be able to reach undetected. The boathouse crouched at the water's edge like a hunched animal, its weathered boards barely visible through the downpour. Michael ushered his family inside, closing the door behind them as silently as possible. "Stay here," he whispered, settling them in the darkest corner. "I'll check if we're clear." The interior smelled of damp wood and fish. Moonlight filtered through cracks in the walls, illuminating the aluminum rowboat suspended from ceiling hooks. Beneath it, a narrow dock extended into the water. Michael peered through a gap in the boards. The men at the speedboat remained in position, one smoking despite the rain, the other speaking into a radio. "2 guards on our boat," Michael explained quietly. "More probably on the way once they realize we're not in the house." Working together, Michael and Sarah carefully lowered the rowboat to the water, wincing at every creak of the pulley. Outside, rain continued to hammer the roof, masking their movements. Once the boat was positioned, Michael helped the children aboard, then Sarah. Buddy whined anxiously until Michael lifted him in too. "I'll push us out," Michael whispered, "then climb in. The current flows toward the opposite shore, which will help." Michael was about to open the boathouse door when headlights swept across the lake. Another vehicle was approaching along the shoreline road, moving slowly, searchlights probing the darkness. "Down!" Michael ordered. They hunched in the boat as the searchlight beam penetrated the boathouse through gaps in the walls, sweeping over them. For a heart-stopping moment, the light paused, then continued on. Michael waited until the vehicle had passed before easing open the door. Rain immediately gusted in, cold and insistent. "Now," he whispered, pushing the boat out into the churning lake. The current caught them immediately, stronger than Michael had anticipated. He scrambled to climb aboard as the boat lurched away from the dock, nearly capsizing before he could stabilize it. Sarah grabbed the oars, rowing with surprising strength, born of desperate necessity. She angled them away from the shoreline, using the darkness and rain as cover. Behind them, shouts erupted. They'd been spotted. "Keep going," Michael urged, taking one oar to help Sarah. Straight across. The lake, normally calm, had been whipped into whitecaps by the storm. The small boat pitched violently, taking on water with each wave. Liam began to cry softly, and Emma held him tighter. Gunfire cracked across the water, bullets splashing around them. The gunfire suddenly intensified, but not aimed at them. Michael risked a glance back to see new muzzle flashes from the direction of his estate. Diane and her remaining team had emerged, engaging the shoreline attackers. As they approached the opposite shore, lights flicked on in a boathouse. The door opened, and an elderly man emerged with a shotgun. "That's far enough," he called over the storm. "Please," Michael shouted back. "We have children. We need help." The man hesitated, then lowered his weapon. "Bring her in, quick." The elderly man, Harold Jenkins, according to the nameplate on his boathouse, led them to his home. Inside, his wife Martha was already preparing towels and blankets. "Landlines in the kitchen," Harold said. "Cell towers are down with the storm." While the Jenkins couple fussed over the children and Sarah, Michael called Jonathan's direct line. To his immense relief, it connected. "Where the hell have you been?" Jonathan demanded. "We've been trying to reach you for hours." "Krantz's men attacked my estate," Michael said tersely. "Communications were cut. What's happening with the operation?" "It's a mess," Jonathan admitted. "The storm delayed us, yes, but there's more. We have a leak. Krantz cleared out his main locations before we arrived." Michael's blood ran cold. "He knows everything." "Not everything," Jonathan countered. "He doesn't know we have his financial records, and he doesn't know about the witness we've been keeping in protective custody, the one who saw the same murder Sarah did." Michael nearly dropped the phone. "There's another witness. Marcus's ex-girlfriend. She came forward 6 months ago. Between her testimony and your evidence, we can still bring him down. But we need Sarah too." "I'm sending a helicopter as soon as the storm breaks," Jonathan said firmly. "We'll extract all of you to a secure location." "But Michael, Krantz won't stop coming. Not until Sarah testifies." Dawn broke over Lake Champlain, the storm clouds retreating to reveal a devastated landscape. Fallen trees blocked roads, power lines draped across flooded fields, and the charred remains of Michael's vehicles smoldered at the estate entrance. From the Jenkins Bay window, Michael surveyed the scene through binoculars. Across the lake, FBI tactical teams swarmed his property, too late to prevent the attack, but in time to secure the aftermath. Michael's borrowed phone buzzed with a text from Jonathan, "Chopper inbound, 30 minutes northeast field." "They're coming for us," Michael announced. Sarah looked up sharply, her expression troubled. She wrote on her notepad, showing it to Michael. "Where are they taking us?" "Secure federal facility until Marcus is apprehended." She shook her head vehemently, writing, "Witness protection again. Children need stability." Before Michael could respond, Emma approached, her small face serious. "Are we running away again?" The directness of the question struck Michael like a physical blow. He knelt to her level. "Not running, just staying safe until some bad people are in jail. Like last time," Emma persisted, "when we left Philadelphia at night. And Detroit before that, and Chicago." Michael glanced at Sarah, who nodded permission to continue. "Yes, like those times, but different too, because I'm with you now. We're together." The sound of rotors thudded in the distance, growing louder. "That's our ride," Michael said, gathering their few possessions. "We need to move." The Jenkinses walked them to the clearing where the helicopter would land. As they said their goodbyes, Martha pressed a small package into Sarah's hands. "Sandwiches for the journey," she explained. "And my telephone number. When this is all over, bring these children back to visit." The helicopter landed on a helipad where Jonathan Chen waited, flanked by security personnel. He embraced Michael briefly as they disembarked. "Glad you made it," Jonathan said, then turned to Sarah. "Ms. Collins, we've been looking for you for a very long time." Inside, they were led to a conference room where a woman waited, mid-30s, expensively dressed, with the hard eyes of someone who had seen too much. "Sarah," Jonathan said, "this is Vanessa Reeves, former partner of Marcus Krantz." Vanessa studied Sarah intently. "So you're the ghost, the one who got away." Her gaze shifted to Emma and Liam. "With more than just your life, I see." Sarah stiffened, moving protectively closer to her children. "Vanessa has been in protective custody for 6 months, Jonathan explained. Her testimony, combined with yours and Michael's evidence, will ensure Marcus joins his uncle in prison. If he doesn't kill us all first," Vanessa remarked bitterly. As they prepared for transfer to a safe house, Michael pulled Jonathan aside. "I want to end this, permanently. No more running, no more hiding." "That's the plan," Jonathan assured him. "Once we have Marcus in custody—" "No," Michael interrupted. "We draw him out. Use me as bait." Jonathan stared at him. "Are you insane? He nearly killed you last night. And he'll keep trying as long as he's free. Sarah and the children will never be safe." Michael lowered his voice. "I built my company securing digital systems against threats. I know how to set a trap." "This isn't some cybersecurity exercise," Jonathan argued. "These are killers." "Exactly," Michael said grimly. "Which is why we need to be proactive. Sarah's been running for 4 years. I won't let my children grow up that way." Jonathan studied his old friend's face, recognizing the determination there. "What did you have in mind?" The Safe House, a modernized farmhouse nestled in the Berkshire Mountains of western Massachusetts, had been in FBI possession for decades, its existence known only to a select few within the agency. Surrounded by 300 acres of private land, it offered both security and isolation. For Emma and Liam, it represented something they'd rarely experienced: stability. 2 weeks had passed since their arrival, and they'd begun to establish routines. Homeschooling in the mornings with a retired teacher who lived on site. Afternoons exploring the grounds under the watchful eyes of security personnel. Evenings as a family, playing board games or watching movies. Sarah had begun to relax marginally, though she still checked locks and sightlines with obsessive regularity. She'd taken to gardening in the enclosed courtyard, finding peace in the simple act of nurturing life. For Michael, the days were consumed with preparation. While maintaining the appearance of family normalcy, he worked with Jonathan to implement their plan. Operation Echo, they called it. A digital trail carefully crafted to lead Marcus Krantz into a meticulously prepared trap. "Planting the financial records was the easy part," Michael explained to Sarah one night after the children were asleep. "Making them appear accidentally discovered was trickier." Sarah typed on her tablet. "Will he believe it?" "Marcus built his operation on financial acumen," Michael said. "The suggestion that his offshore accounts have been compromised will demand his personal attention." What Michael didn't share was the risk assessment Jonathan had prepared. A 70% probability of success, with a 30% chance that Marcus would send subordinates rather than appearing himself. "The operation launches tomorrow. I need to be on site in Boston," Michael told Sarah, who responded with an immediate, emphatic no on her tablet. "It's necessary," Michael insisted. "The trap requires authenticity. If I'm not visible, Marcus will suspect a setup. Too dangerous. I'll have protection, Jonathan's best tactical team." Sarah stood abruptly, pacing the room in agitation before typing, "I lost you for 4 years trying to keep you safe. I won't lose you again." Michael gently took the tablet from her hands. "You won't lose me. But we can't live like this forever, looking over our shoulders, teaching the children to fear shadows." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft knock. Emma stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant. "I can't sleep," she said. "I keep thinking about the men with guns." Michael and Sarah exchanged pained glances. Despite their efforts to shield the children, the trauma of the Vermont attack lingered. The following morning, after a tearful goodbye to the children, disguised as a brief business trip, Michael and Sarah departed in an armored SUV. Jonathan, as predicted, was furious when they arrived at the FBI's forward operating base. "This wasn't the plan," he hissed to Michael. "She's a protected witness, not an operative. She's also the only person besides Vanessa who can visually confirm Marcus," Michael pointed out. Sarah stood firm under Jonathan's scrutiny, her message clear on her tablet: "My life, my choice." "Fine," Jonathan relented. "But you stay in the surveillance vehicle, 2 blocks from the target location, non-negotiable." The target, a high-end seafood restaurant on Boston Harbor, had been chosen with strategic precision, public enough to make Marcus feel secure, exclusive enough to control access. "Surveillance confirms the bait has been taken," a tactical officer reported. "Financial data was accessed from Krantz's secured server an hour ago." "He's coming himself," Vanessa predicted from her position beside the monitoring equipment. Marcus never trusts underlings with financial matters. As evening approached, Michael prepared to take his position. Before leaving, he took Sarah's hands. "Stay in the vehicle, no matter what happens." Sarah nodded, but something in her eyes made Michael uneasy. Inside the restaurant, Michael sat alone at his table, a portfolio of documents open before him, playing the role of the unsuspecting target with convincing authenticity. Then Sarah received a text message from Emma's tablet. "Mom, there's someone outside our window." The alarm is beeping. Sarah showed the text to Jonathan, his face drained of color. "Get the safe house on comms," he ordered an agent. "Full security alert." The agent's fingers flew across his keyboard. "No response, sir. Communications are down." "Team 2 is 20 minutes out," the agent reported. "They're redirecting now." Inside the restaurant, a waiter approached Michael's table. "Mr. Edwards, there's a call for you at the bar. They say it's urgent." This wasn't part of the plan. Cautiously, Michael rose and moved to the bar. The bartender handed him a phone. "Line 3, sir." "Hello, Michael." The voice was cultured, calm, and completely unfamiliar. "I believe I have something that belongs to you. Two things, actually. Small, noisy. Currently asking for their mother." "Marcus," Michael said, the name barely audible. "Very good. Now listen carefully. You're going to leave the restaurant, alone, no phone, no tracker. A blue sedan is parked at the south end of the promenade. Keys are under the mat. You have 5 minutes to be driving, or the children will suffer for your delay." Michael stood frozen, mind racing through possibilities. How had Marcus known about the children? How had he found the safe house? He made his decision. Leaving the phone on the bar, he walked deliberately toward the restroom, knowing the surveillance team would be tracking his movements. Once inside, he scrawled a hasty note on a paper towel. "Krantz has the children," and held it up to the mirror, where he knew a hidden camera was positioned. Then he exited through the restaurant's kitchen, emerging onto the promenade where the blue sedan waited exactly as described. Sarah, meanwhile, had slipped away from the surveillance van. Jonathan intercepted her in a black SUV. "Get in," he ordered. "We have a situation." Inside the SUV, Jonathan briefed her rapidly. "Michael's gone off-grid. We believe Krantz has made contact and threatened the children. The safe house has been compromised." Sarah's world collapsed around her. Her worst fears, all of them, materializing simultaneously. Jonathan's team was already tracking Michael's vehicle. Sarah typed urgently, not his known locations, somewhere connected to Victor, not Marcus, somewhere with emotional significance. Jonathan's eyes widened in sudden understanding. The original crime scene, where Victor killed the witness. He grabbed his radio. "All units redirect to Harborview Towers, penthouse level." Michael, following Marcus's directions, was led to the penthouse level of Harborview Towers, once the crown jewel of Victor Krantz's legitimate real estate empire. The doors opened directly into a luxurious apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. In the center of the vast living room stood Marcus Krantz, younger and leaner than his infamous uncle, but with the same cold eyes. "Michael Edwards," Marcus said, as if welcoming an expected guest. "The man who destroyed my family." Michael scanned the room frantically. "Where are my children?" "Safe," Marcus replied. "For now, their continued welfare depends entirely on you." A door opened, and Emma and Liam were led in by a woman Michael recognized as their safe house tutor. The children ran to him immediately. "Dad!" Emma cried, wrapping her arms around his legs while Liam sobbed quietly. "You're working for Krantz?" Michael asked the tutor incredulously. She shrugged. 20 years with the Bureau, ready for retirement, and they pass me over for promotion. Marcus pays better. Touching, Marcus commented. Now to business. I have a series of account numbers. You're going to transfer $20 million to each one. Outside the building, FBI tactical teams were moving into position. Sarah insisted on going in as a distraction, knowing Marcus wanted her. The rooftop helipad of Harborview Towers offered a panoramic view of Boston's skyline. Michael stood with Emma and Liam clutched to his sides, the wind whipping around them as Marcus's helicopter approached. The helicopter hovered, preparing to land, when the rooftop access door burst open. Sarah stood framed in the doorway. Marcus reacted instantly, drawing a pistol. The final guest arrives. I was wondering if you'd join us. A tense standoff ensued. Agents with weapons trained on Marcus and his associates, Marcus with his gun, alternating between Michael and the children. Sarah stepped closer, drawing Marcus's attention. She held up her tablet with a message. Take me instead. Let them go. While Marcus's focus was on Sarah, Emma acted. Using a small knife Michael had given her, she slashed at the tutor's leg. The woman yelped in surprise, loosening her grip enough for Emma to pull Liam away. Chaos erupted. Michael lunged at Marcus despite his bound hands. Marcus fired 2 shots, one striking Michael in the shoulder. Sarah screamed, an actual sound tearing from her damaged vocal cords for the first time in years as she ran toward her children. A struggle between Michael and Marcus ended with Marcus shot with his own weapon. 1 month later, the Edwards family stood on the shore of Lake Champlain. Michael's arm remained in a sling, but his wounds were healing. Sarah watched Emma and Liam playing with Buddy along the water's edge, their laughter carried on the summer breeze. The house will be ready next week, Michael said, referring to the new home they were building near the Jenkins property. Sarah nodded, typing on her tablet. Fresh start. Sarah leaned against him, finding comfort in his embrace. They had finally found their way to safety, to home.